Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
PM in St. Pete Boya, chief town of the Southwest region. Same time right here in Akwadwala. Good evening, dear viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. In our top stories tonight, the possible candidacy of President Paul Biya in the forthcoming presidential election remains hanging on the balance, dividing members of the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CPDM political party, while the Minister of Communication and Government spokesman Rene Manuel Sadi puts it at the 50-50. That of the Minister of Higher Education and Communication sector of the CPDM party says it's 100% sure that President Paul Biya will take part in the upcoming presidential elections. Also tonight, look at the poor state of roads in Cameroon from big cities to hinterlands. We'll zoom in the Moraku series stretch of road in the Fana region, which is in a dying state. Those are top stories. The news in full in a jiffy. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television to get yourself informed on latest information happening in and out of Cameroon. And for presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. A heated debate has erupted within the CPDM party following conflicting statements from two top officials. Communication Minister Rene Manuel Sadi recently appeared on RFI, a foreign news channel, where he estimated that President Paul Biya's chances of becoming the party's candidate stands at 50%. However, Minister Jacques Famendongo swiftly responded, asserting that President Paul Biya is the party's candidate regardless of whether a Congress is held. Our reporter Malaglary has more on this.
The National Secretary for Communication of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM, and Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famendongo, has clearly declared that President Paul Biya will be the party's candidate in the upcoming presidential election. He made this assertion during a high-profile interview granted to French broadcaster Radio France International (RFI).
Le candidat du RDPC est désigné.
Professor Famendongo stated the candidate of the CPDM has been designated. Article 27, paragraph 3 of the party statutes clearly stipulates that the president of the party is automatically the party's candidate. The declaration, which has since sparked nationwide political debate, comes amid growing speculation surrounding the candidacy of its 92-year-old long-serving leader, Paul Biya.
Qui est le candidat, c'est dans les statuts du parti.
Professor Famendongo emphasized that there is no ambiguity within the party ranks. We have one president, and that president is Paul Biya. He reiterated, carefully adding that the contents of his private discussion with the head of state remains confidential.
Je ne le dirai pas, mais je vous dis qu'il est candidat.
The interview follows a contrasting statement made by government spokesperson and Minister of Communication Rene Emmanuel Sadi, who also spoke to RFI recently. Minister Sadi noted that President Biya's candidacy was at 50%, a comment many interpreted as a signal of internal uncertainty within the ruling party. What began as a routine media engagement by senior CPDM figures has now evolved into what many political analysts describe as a communication cacophony within the ruling party.
Il n'y a aucune cacophonie, l'un parle.
However, Professor Famendongo refuted any suggestion of discord. There is no cacophony, he said firmly. Minister Sadi spoke as a member of government. I speak on behalf of the party. I criticize no one. Governmental solidarity is intact.
And the contradictory statements from Minister Rene Emmanuel Sadi and Jacques Famendongo regarding President Paul Biya's potential 2025 presidential candidacy have sparked concerns, with some analysts describing the situation as total cacophony that undermines the CPDM party's cohesion. Femi Amstrong-Sanda reports.
The Monday, July 7th interview on Radio France International, RFI, with ministers Rene Emmanuel Sadi and Jacques Famendongo has sparked confusion regarding President Paul Biya's potential candidacy in the 2025 presidential election in Cameroon. While Rene Emmanuel Sadi, in a measured approach, sidesteps the question, deferring to the head of state sovereignty and the CPDM party's competent bodies, his colleague Jacques Famendongo came and contradicted his stance on the same media organ few hours later.
Both of them spoke the truth, but Rene Sadi spoke with wisdom, while Professor Famendongo spoke more out of emotion. You know, acknowledging problems and being truthful is very important. If the country is going down the hill, what the ingredient that is lacking most is the fact that people don't tell the truth in love.
He says President Paul Biya's candidacy in the upcoming election is not to be doubted, but the style and the form of communication can make or mar, like the experience of the Anglophone crisis. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam sees an established cacophony with some government ministers, which, according to him, risks making things more complicated for Cameroon.
You know, you would also remember that at the beginning of the Anglophone problem, Minister Yang Philomen went to Bamenda and was trying to solve the problem. And if he had been left to deal with the problem, he would have solved it. But you had some ministers, I think Famendongo was one, and a couple of others, including Mr. Tanganji. They went on air and told Yang off.
He further questioned their choice of a foreign media organ, which he says plays negatively for the image of Cameroon.
And of course, we can understand why. I guess they now think that Cameroonians listen to French stations more than they listen to CRTV. And this would be of their own making, because it's no secret to anybody that CRTV sometimes tells a lot of lies which are not tenable. And therefore, I'm sure they were trying to go to a media that would bring credibility to what they were saying.
Like Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, Professor Luizon Esomba says the apparent discord in the communication of both cabinet ministers leave much to be worried about in Cameroon.
Femi Amstrong-Sanda reporting there. Away from that, cocoa experts and biodiversity conservators have called on small-scale cocoa farmers to keep children away from cocoa farms and avoid pesticides if they must practice sustainable cocoa production and obtain high-quality cocoa products. They made a call in Douala on the heels of World Chocolate Day observed every July 7th. The cocoa experts regret that low-quality chocolate sells more in African countries, especially Cameroon, because of low purchasing power. Lalike tells us more.
In Cameroon, the issue of cocoa production and cocoa transformation into chocolate has been on the table of mass cocoa merchants and other stakeholders in the public and private sector. Cocoa experts explain that there is need for sustainable cocoa production and cultivation in Africa, and Cameroon particularly. This means the process must be carried out with no traces of pesticides. Besides, ecosystems or biodiversity must be protected.
The first one is that what you're doing is in line with the protection of the environment, with the conservation. The second one is that it's taking care of the people who are living around what you protect, especially the child labor.
The cocoa beans transformed into chocolate locally in Cameroon, experts add, is of low quality because norms are hardly respected. Joseph Parfait, a senior cocoa expert with the WWF, affirms that high-quality chocolate is sold mostly in developed countries because of their purchasing power.
This disparity is linked to the fact that we have not yet developed a real strategy of transformation of cocoa, of local cocoa. But now in Cameroon and the other producing countries, we have to change our policy so that we should include our policy local transformation of cocoa.
As Cameroon observes the World Chocolate Day on July 7, cocoa producers have been urged to avoid child labor in the production chain.
To prevent them of their living as child, to focus all their time to cocoa production is not good. So WWF is trying to combine both, that permit the child at the level of the family to be involved of what they're doing, but also allow them to go to school to learn everything and to stand as normal children in our country.
World Chocolate Day offers a unique opportunity to reflect on the global chocolate industry's impact from production and consumption to its economic effects on indigenous peoples and local communities.
And now we take you out of our national frontiers in Kenya, where anti-government protests have resulted in at least 11 deaths and over 500 persons arrested. The protest, organized by opposition against President William Ruto, follows the death of a blogger known as Albert Ojwang. Elsewhere in Chad, former Prime Minister Sucé Masra has been detained for his alleged role in the Mandakao massacre, which his lawyers arguing that the charges are politically motivated. They are seeking President Emmanuel Macron's intervention due to concerns about bias in the judicial process. More on our foreign news with Ese Luciliengo.
At least 11 people have died and more than 500 have been arrested during an anti-government protest in Nairobi, Kenya. On Monday, the police used tear gas and water cannons against protesters commemorating a pro-democracy rally which has incited anger among the youth due to widespread corruption and police brutality. The recent death of a blogger, Albert Ojwang, in a police custody has further fueled these protests. While the police reported 11 injuries, the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights stated that 29 were injured. Elsewhere, Sucé Masra, the former minister leader of the Transformateur Party, has been detained since late May 2025 for alleged involvement in the Mandakio massacre, which resulted to the death of 42 herders. His lawyers assert that the charges are politically motivated and based on the 2023 audio recording advocating self-defense. A group of French Jadian lawyers is seeking President Emmanuel Macron's mediation, citing concerns about political pressure on the investigating judge and potential bias on the Chadian justice system. Lastly, in Senegal, Aïssatou Sophie Gladima, the former Minister of Mines and Geology under President Macky Sall, is facing prosecution for alleged embezzlement related to the management of the anti-COVID-19 fund. She is accused of misappropriating 73 million francs CFA that were meant for a project to construct a center for gold miners affected by the COVID-19, which was never realized. Meanwhile, two other ministers, Amadou Moussoufai and Mustafa Diop, remain incarcerated, while Gladima and another woman are currently on provisional release. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko have promised to ensure accountability for former leaders regarding the alleged mismanagement.
And on today's episode of What's the State of Cameroon Today, we take you to the Morakuse Road, a vital trade artery between Cameroon, Nigeria and Chad that has been plagued by neglect since 2014. Rehabilitation work was suspended after Boko Haram abducted 10 Chinese workers, leaving the 212-kilometer stretch in a state of disrepair. Transporters now face grueling, losing time and money due to the road's poor condition. Sericha Kutio gives us latest updates on the state of this road. His report.
Mara Mora Dabanga Kuseri, a 260-kilometer stretch of road along the National Road No. 1, a journey that begins at the bus station located in the heart of the regional capital of the Far North region. First curiosity, only Peugeot, also called Orange Money, venture on this risky road. These small vehicles, once prestigious and rarely seen elsewhere, carry no fewer than 7 people, including the driver. Each passenger pays a sum of 20,000 francs. This is the minimum during the dry season. Honestly, road networks here are really in bad conditions. We, the drivers, are the ones helping our brothers so they can travel without any difficulties. Heading to Kuseri, the first 60 kilometers are covered without much difficulties between Mara and Mora. What served as a roadway a few years ago now only remains a succession of potholes and other cracks, the depth of which in some places leaves road users speechless. Traveling isn't easy. There are too many potholes and the main road doesn't even pass. If we go through the main road, we'll even spend 10 hours. Due to its severe deterioration, the driver is sometimes forced to leave the main road and take shortcuts. He is thus at times forced to isolate himself for long minutes on roads that only him knows, winding along winding tracks that pass through several villages. In a context of insecurity, passengers and drivers pray not to fall in the net of Boko Haram jihadists whose incursions, though sporadic, continue to disturb the peace of some inhabitants in Logon and Chari and other neighborhoods of the Far North region. After 3.5 hours, we arrive at the city center of the Waza subdivision, just 120 kilometers left to reach Kuseri. Reaching the Logon and Chari, it's a succession of accidents due to the extremely poor road conditions. Overturned trucks are waiting to be rescued. For those who venture on this road, breakdowns are inevitable. During the rainy season, it's been very serious. The road could be blocked. Vehicles at times stay on the spot because it's impossible to move, and sometimes in the night, it can cause an accident. Transporters and other road users try as best they can to comply and adapt to these restrictions. If only the government could really see our situation. We're on the national road number 1, but look at how we're suffering. But the road takes everything away because you're making an effort to arrive at your destination. The road, however, is of undeniable economic and strategic importance, although part of the reconstruction between Mora and Chakameri is underway. Approximately 200 kilometers remain to be contracted to alleviate the suffering of the road users.
And away from that segment, we now take this advertorial. Orange Cameroon has launched Orange Music Talent, a new competition celebrating the country's vibrant musical heritage. Building on the success of Orange music legends, the initiative aims to showcase local talent and provide them with a platform to shine. The competition was unveiled during a press conference at the Orange Technical Headquarters in Makepe, Douala. Details in this report.
Orange Cameroon, a leading mobile operator in the country, reaffirms its commitment to promoting Cameroon's rich cultural heritage through music with the launch of an exciting new initiative, Orange Music Talent. This competition follows the success of Orange music legends and aims to further elevate local music talent. The launch was announced during a press conference held at the Orange Technical Headquarters in Makepe in the Douala 5 subdivision.
It is a program that is meant to spotlight or identify young talents or upcoming, uprising young talents, to train them and coach them so that they can express their talent and become music stars.
Out of the 2,000 candidates, 30 were selected based on a well-defined set of criteria established by Orange.
We had Bendeka, we had Elvis Kemayo, we had Sandrine Nanga and Loco, who were the jury who selected Listen Keenly, and they had specific criteria. They were looking in these potential music stars that they handpicked, and from them we got 30 talents.
In order to make this competition truly unique, the selected talents will be accompanied by 4 experienced coaches who will use their expertise to ensure that the talents shine in the spotlight.
Je pouvais dire qu'il était temps, parce que quand Orange m'a contacté, je me suis dit que je rêvais ou alors c'est moi. Mais bon.
Je suis plus qu'honorée d'avoir l'opportunité de partager mes connaissances avec de nouveaux talents.
Elvis Kemayo and Bendeka, who have over 40 years of experience in the industry, commend this dynamic initiative by the leading mobile operator in Cameroon.
Unique dans son genre, fait par Orange Music Talent. On revient un peu aux sources, à la découverte de jeunes artistes. À notre époque, on ne nous découvrait pas, on se battait dans les cabarets pour réussir. Mais aujourd'hui, ils ont l'opportunité d'avoir des organismes comme Orange qui leur tendent la main. Ils vont dans toutes les villes du Cameroun faire des auditions des jeunes qui veulent émerger dans ce métier.
Moi, ce que j'attends, c'est découvrir des belles voix d'abord. Mon instrument, c'est ma voix. Donc si je découvre une belle voix, automatiquement, je vais essayer de faire en sorte qu'elle soit comme la mienne et qu'elle fasse comme moi.
Meanwhile, Loco and Sandrine Nanga have high expectations for the competition.
There are many criteria. The first thing first is to have that connection. You know, music is not just about the technique, but it's about emotions. So we can't wait to continue with this trip.
C'est pour nous faire la proposition de l'artiste sur le plan spirituel que vous êtes. Et c'est là-bas dedans qu'on va aller chercher pour dénicher la perle rare. Donc venez comme vous êtes, as you are.
In this mind-blowing innovation, pre-selected talents will have the unique opportunity to showcase their skills in front of a distinguished jury.
Once they win, there's a package that we have prepared for them. The first thing is that they back in an amount of 3 million francs CFA to support their career. The second thing is that they will be produced, they'll have a video clip produced for them, and then they'll be assisted in the production of their album, and lastly, they will be supported with a media promotion for over 12 months, that is 1 year.
Orange Cameroon at the heart of culture in Boa.
Orange est là.
The report on Orange Cameroon ends this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. My guest tonight on Talking Point is Barrister ACHU Julius. Good evening, Barrister. It's always a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
Thank you for having me, and it has always been a pleasure for me talking to Equinoxe and on Talking Point.
Barrister, how do you interpret the statements made by Minister René Emmanuel Sadi, government spokesperson, and Professor Jacques Famendongo, CPDM spokesperson, regarding President Paul Biya's possible candidacy in the upcoming presidential elections? One talks about 50-50, another talks about 100%. What do you make of this?
To me, this is pure democracy in play, in the sense that everyone in Cameroon is free to air his point of view as he likes, wherever he finds himself in Cameroon. This is the democracy that I think President Paul Biya wants us to enjoy in this country. But in any case, Minister René Sadi is a spokesman for the government. He has aired out his own point of view as a spokesman for the government, as Minister of Communication. But you should understand that Professor Famendongo is a spokesman for the CPDM as Secretary in charge of Communication. And whatever he says binds the CPDM. And whatever Minister René Sadi says binds by the government. So you have to understand that the differences. But in any case, the CPDM constitution is very clear. Section 27, sub 3 of our constitution states clearly that the candidate for presidency of the CPDM, for the CPDM party, is supposed to be, is automatically the national president. Who is the national president of CPDM? Is President Paul Biya. So it goes without saying that if we have to follow our laws, our bylaws in the party, it is President Paul Biya who is the candidate.
Barrister, from what you're saying, it shows that the head, that is Jacques Famendongo, is respecting the text. However, there seems to be some sort of selective application of the party's text at the helm of the CPDM party, which I think undermines the party's credibility. According to the Municipal Council of Monatele, Leon Tiele Onana, the candidacy of the head of state is illegal because no Congress has been organized for the past 14 years. And this is again the same text. If now the party you claim, Professor Jacques Famendongo's declaration, is respecting the party's text, how do we understand this, all this mix-up that you're trying to tell us now?
Who is going against the same text? I don't see where we've gone against the same text or not respecting the same text. The young man you cited has his right to say what he wants to say, has the right to say what he said, right? He thinks that President Paul Biya is the right candidate because there will be no Congress. He went to court, right? And what was the verdict? Or you will now tell me that the judges to CPDM, as usual. The judge, he lost the case. And I hear it's going on appeal. So once you go to court and there's a verdict, why do we still emphasize on the complaint instead of the outcome of the complaint? We should understand that the CPDM likes Cameroonians to look at the sun, but not at the finger pointing at the sun. Because we forget that the vision is the sun, and the finger is barely showing the direction. You consider the finger, you get it all wrong. And that's where Cameroonians don't fail to understand that those things are like that. You should understand that there's been a Congress which gave the authorization for the president to be a candidate without waiting for a Congress. It's a Congress resolution.
What basis does Minister Jacques Famendongo have to assert that President Paul Biya will be a candidate in the presidential elections with 100% certainty, given that the president himself hasn't made an official announcement that he's going to be taking part in elections?
No. The president is a politician. And Jacques Famendongo too is a politician. And once you have a leader, if the leader has not made a contrary statement, you stay by his statement. Because the President Paul Biya is the leader. So he's the only one who can tell us what is right and what is wrong. What I will say is just some sort of prospection. But in any case, if you believe in a leader, you give him 100% confidence. If you don't believe in a leader, that's where you might have misgivings. And President Paul Biya was very clear when he had that interview when President Macron came to Cameroon, that if he decides not to run again, he will inform Cameroonians. There's still time. Today is the 8th, or is it the 8th or the 9th? The 12th is in a few days. Why can't we just wait and see if President Biya will respect his word or not? He's the one to take his engagements. Nobody can take engagements for him. So what everybody's saying that is just prospection. His own time is going to come. And I told you, and you know, the president is the person who takes his time before coming out with his decisions. You might say whatever you like, but when his time is up, he will tell you what he wants and go for it. And I know he's always very prepared to back up whatever he's going to say. When he says, I might come on or not come on, it clearly goes without saying that when the time comes, he's going to tell Cameroonians if he will run or he will not run. So why push him to say when the time is not yet ripe? His time is going to be his time. And the legal time is as of the 12th of July. And don't forget, when the electoral college is convened, we have a certain time again to declare candidacies. He can still wait for the last day to do it. What will you do? That's normal. It's right. He can still not do it. It is his right. So let's not be infringing on the rights of the president of the republic, both as the president, as a national president of CPDM, and as an individual, to say things for him. He's going to say it himself when the time comes.
Let's look at another angle. Do you think the disagreement between Minister René Emmanuel Sadi and Professor Jacques Famendongo reflects some sort of a deeper division within the government, or it's just a matter of individual perspectives?
I don't see the division. It is, as I say, it is it's the play of democracy. When you say play of democracy, it means that everybody in a democratic unit like Cameroon has a right to express his opinion. Because whatever they are saying for now is more or less their personal opinion, in as much as it engages certain entities like the party and the government. But you should know that we are all human beings. We don't need to think the same. But we need to, as I say, look always at the sun, but not at the finger that points towards the sun.
You have been insisting on the word democracy. You claim all what is happening at the helm of the CPDM party is a fruit of democracy. But those of the opposition consider it as cacophony. What do you have to say about this?
I would like you to define what cacophony is all about, because I don't see it. When we express an individual view, I don't see any problem with it because we are 30 million Cameroonians, and it is possible we might have 30 million views about certain issues. That's just but normal. But again, we usually say you cannot be more royal than the king. President Paul Biya has his time. The law has given it up to the 12th of July. Why are we getting confused? Why are we making a lot of fuss over nothing? This is what we call where people are warming up before the match. The match is going to start on the 12th of July. And I don't see why we should take opinions of others to mean cacophony. You know, at the end of the day, it's going to communicate, all those ideas are going to be channeled into one direction. And that direction is going to be guided by President Paul Biya himself, who is our national president. I just ask everybody to be patient and wait for that date.
Barrister ACHU Julius, thank you so much for your time.
You are very welcome anytime. And I hope this would decipher the issues that have been raised so far, making controversies, making cacophonies, as you say, and creating rift among Cameroonians for nothing. All what is going on is creating rift among you and me. Everybody now seems to want to belong to one camp or the other. We only have one camp in Cameroon, and the camp in Cameroon is Cameroon. All of us love this country, and we have to love it as one person. In as much as we may not share the same ideas, but we have to love our country equally.
And that's where I'll put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. I want to thank you all for always staying stick to programs on Equinoxe Television. Coming up next in some few minutes is the program Equinoxe Soir. And exactly 8 p.m. you have the news in the French language. From us to you over there, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye for now.